Welcome again to the City Possible Plaza for our second Tech Talk of the day, and one that I'm very excited about, Pioneering Urban Partnerships. We have a very esteemed international group of people here with us today, so we're going to dive right in. I think it's better if you all introduce yourselves, who you are, why you're here, where you're from, and then I always like to add a definition. So what defines an urban partnership to you? Carlos, do you want to kick it off?
Thanks, Maddie. Hi, my name is Carlos Menendez. I'm the president of Enterprise Partnerships at MasterCard. Our job is to find new areas to operate in, and cities is one of our focus areas. And an urban partnership to us is a recognition that the world has become very complex, but yet all of our problems and challenges are similar. And so by working together, be they academia or cities or private enterprises like MasterCard, we can come to a better solution.
Hello, I'm Paul Bettino. I'm very happy to be here. I'm the head of innovation education at Harvard School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. 20 years ago, I started the Technology and Entrepreneurship Center at Harvard. We call it TECH. That includes a Innovation Fellows program, which is a group of experts in innovation in many fields, one of which is in city innovation, and we have programs in that now. And so my definition is really, city leaders who understand their constituents and their stakeholders and their systems, business partners that are on the top of their markets, their technologies and solutions, and academics who, synthesize, analyze, reconcile points of view, and, bring people to mutual understanding.
Anna?
Okay. Hello, I'm Ana Majó. I'm the Digital Innovation Director here in Barcelona City Council. I'm an engineer and I've been working in Accenture as a private company. I passed through the university for a short while, the technical university, and now I'm in the public sector. So I've been in, let's say, the three different possibilities of partnerships. So for me, urban partnership, I would say it's the only way. So I've seen the lacks of how each type of, I would say, of agent can address innovation. And I think if we don't do it with partnership, any goals can be achieved. So that's why.
Hi, I'm Álvaro García Resta. I'm from Buenos Aires. I'm Undersecretary of Projects in the Urban Development and Transportation Ministry in the city government. And urban partnership for us is the robust collaboration between among the key players in the city, maybe the private sector, the public sector, the academy, and also the community.
Yeah. Hi, my name is, Hello, my name is, that was loud. Good morning. My name is Miguel Sanglang. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Budget and Innovation in Los Angeles. Our shop handles most of the kind of core city functions of government, budget, personnel, technology, but we also have a lot of the cross-cutting features, so sustainability, equity, gender equity, change management, innovation kind of fall under the shop, under the theory that, if you get everyone around the same water cooler, there'll probably be the right type of change happening. And so urban partnership, I think, is defined by that as well. And I'll also say out of that, I think all the right words were said about it. I think the outcome actually matters, and that should be, for some type of greater social good, some measurable social good. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've all kind of touched upon what a partnership means to us, but how do you make one successful? Because as you kind of touched upon, Miguel, we can all get around the water cooler, but there might not be an outcome. How do we make sure that these partnerships that we're creating are delivering for our cities, our companies, our organizations? Paul is the academic here. Why don't you weigh in first?
So successful partnerships for us, I think, it's about people, obviously. Organizations are one thing, but it's really bringing together the right people. We have a city innovation program that does both executive education and accelerator events all across the world. And I think the success is really in the attitudes, the shared goals of people. We're always looking for people that can transcend their point of view, that are open to collaborating, where the solutions are they generated from a robust definition of the problem. And there's no way that we can get to that sort of robust definition of the problem without integrating the city leaders and, as I described, people that are on top of their game, as well as the business side of it. So I think that's probably the most critical aspect.
Yeah. It's been great to work with your organization to really bring together the City Possible Network and have the pleasure of working with some of the cities at the table. Anna, how important has partnerships been for Barcelona as you've created this amazing reputation of the city that really uses technology to develop a relationship between the citizen and the community?
For me, of course, the partnership, people, it's key, it's the thing. But for me, the succeeding in partnership is when you have a common goal and you understand the different languages. So you need to understand what every single partner is looking for and to be sure that you achieve all the goals at the same time with a common goal. Otherwise, it's not possible. So for us, when we were designing the digital city plan, etc., we really so we really wanted to put everyone on the agenda, but not only the companies, not only the public sector, but also the startup community, of course, academia, and for us, I think citizens have to have a role because citizens have to be in the center. It's not PPP, but it's PPCP community, and we did it like that, like listening to citizens and putting on the same table the different people and listen a lot. I think one of the key things is listen a lot in order to have this common goal, and that is project management.
Can I add something to that, if possible? I think one of the things we're trying to get from each other is that, as I joke, we want to make new mistakes, right? We want to do these partnerships in various cities and together, but why do we want to all start from scratch? We're not reinventing the wheel. Everybody has faced challenges with traffic, with homelessness, with educational growth. How do we learn from each other and drive it forward? I think to us is sort of the key thing, and that's why we have everybody here. Let's chat about what did you learn? What can we do better? That's really what we have seen. By listening to the citizens, by understanding the academic nature of it. Yeah.
And where did you fail?
Yes.
Because
I have a long
you
list.
learn even more.
Yeah.
Alvaro?
Thank you.
Well, we are very focused in how we involve the people in the process. So we create a department in the government. It's called urban anthropology. So we used to have some meetings, of co-creation meetings with the people. And in these meetings, we can know the desires, the specific desires of the community. And then with the academia, we build a dashboard because we think we have to measure in time how we really improve people's lives. So we go to the territory month by month. So we get some encuestas, how to say, answers. So we process this information and, well, we can work with them in the whole process.
Very good. Very good. Miguel, how have you really taken partnerships in Los Angeles? I mean, you have a huge city.
Yeah, it's a small coastal town.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of it. No, just kidding.
But I kind of wanted to react to a couple of things
go for
because, I loved what you said about PPCP and what you're talking about failing forward and engaging people and then that common goal. Because I think, the reason why we're having a panel about collaboration is where we're starting from. Now, governments are very good at, there are processes in place, right? We definitely want to safeguard against fraud, abuse, all these other things, right? But we've gotten to the point where it is, as you're saying there, difficult to really transcend some of those larger issues until we start partnerships. And what we're talking about is doing good for lasting change, and doing good part. That's the goals that we're all kind of setting forward. A lasting change, if I could break those down, lasting, that's the government's role. We're really good at making sure something continues or is scalable, larger, right? The change is a little bit harder, but that's where our partnerships come into with MasterCard, with different entities, and that kind of space to fail, because we're supposed to be lasting, our expectation for success from the public is very high, right? But we don't have that space to actually then fail. So we need to create some of those in order for us to start kind of experimenting on what some of those changes should be. So I think that's like a huge part of it. And so understanding that these partnerships are those kind of safe spaces for us to do good work. This is why we've partnered with the private sector on creating incubators, on creating some new models. Those are all pieces of the puzzle there.
Can I ask you to zone in on one thing that I'm really interested in that you said is, because governments are lasting and you're serving the citizens, you're not really supposed to fail. So how do you contain something like that? Like if a partnership isn't working or a project isn't working, how do you then communicate that, or how do you make?
I think you'll probably have two different approaches, where if you're going to experiment and try and do something, and then you have that kind of not secret, but smaller project that you keep closer to the vest. I think actually what is more interesting is the engagement part, where you're actually bringing it out to the forefront. No, we're going to say right up front, we're trying this out, and whether that works or not, left to be seen. But we're all sharing risks, right? And just trying to get to the bottom of it. And the community, as you're saying, is actually engaged through that process. So they understand what's going to happen to them. I mean, for the most part, I get pretty much freaked out when there's a surprise. Surprise birthdays are kind of an issue. So I'm pretty sure that approaching that to the larger citizenry would be also an issue.
For sure. Alvaro, you mentioned it earlier, but I think the methodology you're using in Buenos Aires with anthropología urbana, I think, is super fascinating. And I had the pleasure of visiting Buenos Aires for an event called La Ciudad que Queremos, which the city that everyone wants it to be. And I saw for the first time a data hackathon for seniors.
Yeah.
And then one where students were putting Post-its up on the wall of what they wanted Buenos Aires to be. So I was super impressed with how participatory you've made the city and how you're engaging with your citizens. Do you want to share a bit more about that?
Well, because for us it's very important to use the process to make the ownership. The people need to feel the owner of the project. So then, when they feel the owner, they take care of the public spaces. They can say another one, please don't do that because it's mine. And the public sector, I think, the public things have how do you say, a desafío?
A challenge.
A challenge is if you can make them feel this is to all of us or for no one, because it's public. You can get the two feelings. So in these hackathons, the data hackathons, we involve the people, and then when the project is there, they feel these things, I put it there with my Post-it, so there he's always mine,
Very good. Yeah. Anna, anything to add from the perspective
I
of
like
Barcelona?
what was said. There's an image, and I like to say that for us, I think governments are not like a vending machine of services anymore, like providing health, mobility, lighting, or whatever, education. But we really, talking as a government member, we really need to shape the way of using, and we just can do innovation in an open way, collaborating. And for me, this is a must. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the city we are looking for. So this is like an image that I like to tell. And how we do here, we do also co-creation events. We have also an open source platform called decidim.barcelona, so it's the site that 40,000 citizens talk with the government, saying what they want, what they don't want, and so it's an open dialogue. We have the online and the offline, of course, because not everyone can be on the online world, and this is something we have to be sure that anyone leaves behind. So have tools, but for me, the very important thing to make it succeed is to be very transparent, to say that we are trying, we are experimenting, we are piloting, we are taking risks, and to reduce the risk, but to say that this is something that we are experimenting. We are not offering this health mobility as a standard. So, and this is the way to engage people. I think it's to be honest about people again.
Yeah.
I'd also probably add that, for this, there's a right mix, there's a right recipe and proportions to the ingredients that we need, and I think that's really where our academic partners have brought to light. Because as much as I would like to say we're doing good, or a business would say that they're doing good, unless we have someone that's actually trusted in that realm for different subjects, it's going to be harder for us to convince people. And so, important for us to then, have these partners, especially around homelessness. We've partnered with like UCLA and Harvard has helped us on a couple studies for procurement. And now, again, going to businesses and working with local companies in Los Angeles and working with the city itself. So there's a right kind of mixture of how much you need for each of those.
Carlos, are any of these ingredients of partnership in the public sector ringing any bells for you?
No, look, I hear more similar things than different things. I think to me, it's whether you're in Los Angeles, Barcelona, or Buenos Aires, it's all about finding the right mix and finding the right goals. The one thing we would stress, because we work with over 200 cities around the planet, is that we are more alike than different. People want to go to school, people want to go to work, people want to have fun. Doesn't matter what part of the world you're on. We can learn from each other. We have to figure it out. I mean, the cities are leading the way. The government, federal government's less so around the world. So we want to work with you guys to get to that right way forward.
Go ahead, Emma.
No,
Paul, anything to add on how institutions like Harvard, your work with City Possible, can really enable each of these leaders to, whether it's learn from each other, even help like the copy and paste and moving projects so that, Anna can take something that Miguel has done extremely well in Los Angeles and replicate it here in Barcelona. How do you see your vision and work fitting into this?
I wish it were copy and paste, right? It's hard to, even best practices, it's hard, every situation is different, complex environments. So I think the role of Harvard, I like what you were saying about, there is a trust layer, obviously, it can come from any organization. I think our primary role is to create the learning environment, provide frameworks, create an environment where people are willing to open up and compare and contrast. We really rely on that. I mean, education, especially innovation education, the model is completely different than what it is for sort of explicit information transmission type of education. I mean, the world is our classroom, right? And it's critical for us to have City Possible, to have the networks, to have the city leaders, the business leaders willing to come to campus, or for us to come to them to engage and to share. And so I think that is our primary role as convener and facilitator, processor, analyzer.
Absolutely. I think that even the conversation like this becomes so critical because oftentimes public and private are often viewed to have opposed interest when really kind of we have the same goals at heart and achievements. Given the three city leaders here, what's something you guys would ask of the private sector in a partnership, or how can we better position ourselves to align and develop that trust?
You want to go?
No, that was an inspired question from the conversation. So,
I honestly think that we just have to start. Sometimes we look for very complex and long program builds. I think we should take what some other city did and worked and bring it, and you don't have to roll it out across the city. Let's start, because I think success begets success. And the lack of trust in that partnership can get proven in the world by us working together. So That's what I would ask the cities for.
Miguel, you want to kick?
Yeah, I think building on that, the aspect of starting small and then doing it, but right after it succeeds, I think each one has their own bully pulpit in their own circles, and we actually need to do a much better job of communicating that. I find it much the contrast between media good and media bad for what's happening is a large kind of barrier, it creates a difficult inertia that it needs to get overcome with different voices on that part.
Like in Barcelona, many of you maybe know, we have an innovation lab where we try to do that. So what's the idea? We work, of course, to offer a better city for our citizens, but the idea is to define challenge internally with our areas like mobility, lighting, health, whatever, launch this challenge and look for the solutions in the market that can fill that challenge. And then we pilot them, and we want to scale using procurement because, well, we don't want to do the marketing innovation, but really to scale and install it is in the city. For us, working like that, I had feedback of many companies saying, I love to work with you like that because we are co-creating a solution. It's not a tender in between, like I have to present a proposal, close, but we are telling, no, that's true. Normally the way that companies and governments talk, it's through a tender, and this is not very collaborative. No. So we try to do differently and to try to co-create, but it's true that as a private sector, so this is maybe not always business oriented. Sometimes there's not the revenue the second day or the first day. There's a relationship that have to be built. But our feedback is really very positive. Of companies say it was great to collaborate with you, to talk about innovation, to talk without a tender in between, and then a tender will come because at the end they want to, of course, to become providers. But I think the approach have to be quite different. And the laws doesn't make it very easy, but it's changing, at least in Europe, and there's many different ways to do that, and I think it's positive. So it's a way to create this trust.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Alvaro, anything to add from Buenos Aires?
Well, we used to have some formal conversation spaces between companies and government, and we try to do it the constant in time, maybe weekly, because we think that we have to co-create solutions for people, and for that we have to talk very frequently because we have to understand each other. It's not just to talk, it's about understand. So we really believe in have a sustainable conversation, because in Latin America the things change very fast. So we have the challenge, both. We have the challenge to make the conversation sustainable, no?
Keep it going, yeah.
Just let me add one thing.
Of course.
This is a change of mind in both sides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a work to be done from the city councils and from companies. Well, change management, it's always very hard and long, but yeah, we are on the path.
I think convenings like this where we can all come together and even start the conversation really helps everyone move forward.
You can trust us. We have references.
Does anyone in the audience have a question for our panel? Yeah. No? Don't all jump at once.
Very clear. It was very clear.
Can we ask them questions?
Yeah, we can reverse
finally.
that.
Here's this lady has a question. Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, it's coming.
Thank you, Paul.
I would like to hear more about a sustainable conversation. What is that all about? I'm Heli Koistinen and I'm from the city of Helsinki from Finland.
Okay. Well, as I said, we try to make this conversation sustainable. It is because our things change very fast, you know, politically and also the economic issues. So for both of us, it's important to have some resilience between the the themes, the issues that we are talking about. So that's why we have to make sustainable a conversation, because it's not enough to meet each other weekly. It's more than that. I think it's how can we help them, and how can they help us to sustain this, how do you say, volatile, or I don't know,
Volatile.
Volatile.
yeah, volatile times, you know. I don't know if I was clear, but okay, you can rebuild the thing in your head. Okay.
Miguel or Anna, do you want to add anything?
Pardon?
Do you want to add anything on how to create like a sustainable partnership, whether it's like lasting beyond governmental change or just even keeping it going when you have so many different priorities and tasks, and you know then the mayor calls and wants you to do something else, like how do you keep everything moving forward as well?
There's lots of plates on
Yeah.
poles that's spinning. But I think what I'd say to what you're saying, for that sustainable conversation, is it kind of then goes back to your level of confidence and trust, right? And if you're starting over and over and over again, then it becomes really difficult to move the ball,
Yeah.
or to move forward in any way. And so, you know, it might be as simple as meeting regularly, but those meetings have to, at some point, have some outcome. And so it's that shared kind of goals, right? Like, because we all have to be working towards something. And so setting those up front and then working towards those, no matter how long it takes, is the effort that's needed. So.
I would add too that not always possible, but whenever you can get economic forces working in the same way, that's helpful too. The work that we do with London and other cities on transit, it's cheaper than the current system.
Yeah.
So the mayor may turn over, you know, but it still keeps going because people are saving money and having a better journey. So if we can embed those linkages, the invisible hand, so to speak, that helps.
No more powerful force than compound interest. Right?
Yes, no more powerful force than saving money and counting it, yeah.
Of course, as we said, that we need a goal, and it's a common goal. So let's go for it. I think that this is the approach. So it's the only way.
You're right.
And the only thing I'll add to the sustainable conversation piece is that we'll be here. We don't have term limits or quarterly reporting obligations.
Yes.
So we welcome you to, you know, been around since 1636. I think we'll make it at least through our lifetimes. So please come visit.
Yeah,
That's
our
a
plan too.
excellent point. Yeah, the role academics can play in helping keeping projects moving, going forward, and even replicating them. I mean, Harvard even has, how many global campuses or centers do you have?
I don't know the number, but yeah, we're out there.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just there a lot. Anything else from the audience?
I will add to. I think putting the conversation in the right place matters, because like in subjects of sustainability, you know, without Harvard, without all these other places that have kept that conversation going towards science, it is the right thing. So you know that makes it more sustainable when it's placed in the right place that it's supposed to be. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Good.
Very, very important point there. Nothing. Okay.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
oh,
one there.
I apologize. The mic's coming.
Thank you. I just had a question actually about building trust in citizen engagement that you have. So I'm British but work in South Africa, and a lot of the things we need to do with the cities at the moment and trying to get the cities to engage has obviously been like looking at citizen participation. But then often because of things like disparity in the city, it's also about building trust with certain groups. So I just wondered if any of the speakers have any good examples about that before you go.
I mean, if I may try, and I agree. I mean, and cynicism is relatively high right now. We are doing great things around the planet, all of us individually and together. I think there's a lack of trust because people aren't necessarily aware. So MasterCard has worked in Kenya with financial education for small shop holders. We've worked in Bogota to facilitate transit. So I think it may not work, but I do believe that showing real life examples and how people that are relatively the same are leading better lives could be a good starting point. But that citizen government relationship takes time on the ground, and not one thing is going to change it either way or the other. But what we are trying to do is do well and do good at the same time. This is our planet as much as everybody else's, and we're going to live in it a long time. So we want to make it better, and we want to figure out how we do that in collaboration. It's not a perfect answer, but I hope there is hope within it.
Yeah, building trust, it's among people, so it's the same. So you have to do what you've said. You have to be transparent. You have to say so be clear with the expectative. So I think it's human behavior. Of course, there's tools to make it happen and to be open, that it's transparent, etc. But there's no other secrets. That's my feeling.
Good.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask one final question. What is your key learning from our conversation or from Smart City Expo as a whole, or your next action point if learning is not ringing a bell right now from the expo and our conversation? Miguel, do you want to start? We'll come this way.
Sure. I would say the key learning I have, just from this conversation and the people that interact with me on the floor, that there's actually more people that are interested in doing good and change in a positive way that we just haven't reached yet. And so I think it's imperative on my part to actually make sure that I'm out there and talking to more, just to gather new ideas. So it's that aspect of the connection.
I think it's collaboration. I think we have to make more scientific the process, that the way that we co-create the things with people. So we are working on it very, very focused. So this is a challenge for us.
I would say something that maybe was in the agenda already, but this is not about technology. This is about challenges, and this is about people. And do not reinvent the wheel. The wheel, yeah, okay, maybe. and really, collaboration is because we are facing the same challenges. Maybe the solutions are not the same, but the challenges are shared. So let's share solutions.
I'd say I'm still processing the enormity of what's happening here, but we're dedicated to bringing it back into our programs to make them more useful to city leaders, to business leaders. But I'm constantly talking to the people that have been in the programs and the people that have talked about coming. And like last night, one of the conversations was, well, I like to come to Harvard because I feel like once I'm there and once my peers are there, I feel free to, I don't need to prove myself anymore. Like, we can actually talk and share ideas very openly and candidly. And I think that is, we need to keep making that point and keep enabling people and letting them know that is what we're there for.
Carlos?
Good. I've learned two things. The moderator needs to sit over there more so I don't block you. I apologize. But look, we're not alone. That really is what comes over and over again. We can work together. We're willing to work together. And we can make a better world for all of us. It's very exciting to be here. It's really about the future, and if not us, who?
So thank you all so much for sharing your thoughts. We'll be here at the City Possible Plaza all day. Please feel free to interact with us. And if you'd like to know more about what we're doing in the network, please feel free to contact me or find me over there, and let's have a coffee. Thank you all, and a round of applause for you.
Thank you, guys.